All right, welcome to practice exam 4, part 1, which is going to be questions 1 through 10. So let's just jump right into it. Question 1 says, true or false, the Social Security tax, also known as the FICA tax, is collected from interest earnings. That happens to be false. Social Security tax is actually collected from not just the interest earnings, but all types of earnings. Matthew and Donna are married jointly with an adjusted gross income of $95,352. Assuming that they are in the standard deduction, calculate the federal income tax for 2009. All right, so we'll start with their adjusted gross income, which has already been determined for us, so we'll start with there. So this is question 2. And we have $95,000, 352. Now we'll want to first, they're going to take the standard deduction, so let's subtract that. Now looking at your chart for 2009, you'll see that the standard deduction is 11,400. So I'm going to put that down here. It's actually above 12,000 now for 2014, but we're just going off of the 2009 numbers. Next, we want to subtract out any exemptions. Now, we don't know if they have children, but we're going to assume they don't since the problem didn't tell us they did. So we're going to subtract also the exemptions. In this case, there are 2 exemptions, and there's $3,650 per exemption. So this calculation will tell us how much is their taxable income that we can then calculate. So we'll come down here and we go 95,352, subtract that standard deduction, 11,400, and we'll now also subtract the 3,650, and we'll do it twice. I could have done 2 times that to figure that out, but this also works. So my value is 76,652. So now that we have that number, we can actually go to our table, and we'll start with the 10% bracket. Now 10% bracket is basically up to $16,700. So we'll just go 10% times that $16,700, which is just moving decimal place. So 1,670. Now we're going to move up to the 15% bracket, and that will be 0.15, and we'll multiply that. Now we're going to take that, it's going to be the difference, so we look at the next bracket, 25% bracket is at 67,900, and notice that our 76 is above that, so we'll subtract from that 16,700. We'll need to come over here, clear that out, and we're going to go 67,900 minus a 16,700. So this gives us 51,200, and we'll multiply that by the 15%, or 0.15, and that will give us 7,680. All right, let's head to the 25% bracket. So we'll go 25% at, now this one, you'll notice that 76 is below the next bracket, so we can just go ahead and go to 76,652 minus the 67,900. And when we calculate that out, 76,652 minus 67,900, that's the number we get. We multiply that by the 0.25, so we get 2188. Now, to get the federal income tax, we're going to add those columns up. So I'm just going to add those columns up over here. 7,680 plus 1,670. That gives us a total of 11,538. So we come over to our answer and we select A. All right. Let's move on to question 3. Sarah is single and earning wages of $23,700. She has $4,500 in itemized deductions from interest on a home mortgage. What is her taxable income for 2009? So first off, we need to see if the itemized deductions is lower or higher than standard deduction. So looking at the chart, we'll find out that the standard deduction is $5,700. So therefore, it would be a better deal for her to take the standard deduction. So we'll go ahead and assume that. So let's come to our problem, and we're going to take that. So first off, we're looking for the taxable income. So we'll start with her adjusted gross income, $23,700. And from there, we're going to subtract out the standard deduction, which was $5,700. And then from there, the exemptions. Since she's single, we're only going to subtract the single person, $3,650. And that will give us her taxable income. So we'll clear that out. 23,700 minus 5,700 minus 3,650. And that's 14,350. So we can see that that's our answer over here. So we can just go ahead and circle that and move on. All right. Question 4. Ryan is married, but he and his wife filed separately. His salary was $35,400, and he earned $500 in interest. He had $1,500 in itemized deductions and claimed 3 exemptions for he himself and 2 children. He is entitled to a $2,000 child tax credit, or otherwise known as the Earned Income Credit, EIC. Calculate his federal income tax for 2009. So what we want to do is first add up his wages and interest. So he got $35,400. So we're doing the income first. We're going to add in his $500 in interest that he got. So his gross income is $35,900. All right. Now, next, what we want to do is find his taxable income. So we'll start by going $35,900. Now we want to know, should he take the standardized or itemized? He only made $1,500 in itemized deductions, so we're going to just take the standard. Remember that dependents don't count, so you only count yourself, and if you're filing jointly, then you can take 2. The standard deduction would be double that, which is $11,400. But in this case, we're just going to subtract that. Now the exemptions, we can take 3, because $3,650 and himself and 2 kids, so we're going to multiply that by 3. And that will tell us our new taxable income from there. So I'm going to go 3,650 times that by 3 first, so that's, and then save that to the memory. Now 35,900, subtract 5,700, and then subtract the memory number, if you recall, and we're at 19,250. So write that down here, 19,250. That actually should be a 1. It's hard to tell, but there we go. Now, what we want to do is calculate his federal income tax. So let's go to the brackets, and we'll start with 10%. And let's see, so 19,000, so 10% only goes up to, including, so for the bracket he's at is 8,350. So we go 0.1 times 8,350, which is $835, and then we move up to the 15% bracket. Now since that number is higher on that, we can just take the 19,250, subtract the 8,350, and then that's going to give us the 15%. So we go 19,250 minus 8,350. And we'll multiply that by 0.15, and that's a total of 1,635. And so we're looking for his federal income tax, so we add those 2 values up. And we get 2,470. Now before we go circle that and say we're done, remember, you have to go back and look and see that he's entitled to a tax credit. Remember, credits come after you do your taxable income. Deductions come before you do this, tax credits come after. So we subtract the credit after the fact. So he owes $470. Circle that, A is the answer, A, there we go. And we'll move on to question 5. we are. All right, so question 5 states, Mike is single and has an adjusted gross income of $87,500. Calculate his federal income tax for 2009, round to the nearest dollar, assuming that he takes the standard deduction. Okay, so since we know he's going to take the standard deduction, well, let's see, Mike is making $87,500. And we are going to take the standard deduction. So we'll subtract from that the $5,700, since he's by himself. And then one exemption. So he's just claiming himself on the exemptions. All right, so let's go ahead and calculate that. $87,500 minus $5,700 minus $36,50. All right, so his taxable income, $78,150. Now we want to calculate on the question his income tax. So we're going to have to use the brackets. We'll start with the 10%. So 10% times 8,350 for a single person, which is $835. Now we go to the 15%. 1.5 and $33,950 minus the 8,350 is equal to, and I'll use a calculator for this one, 950 minus 8,350. Okay. And then we got that number, we multiply it by the 15%, so we go 0.15, and we have $3,840. Now we need to go up to the 25% bracket. And on this one, we'll just notice that the bracket goes above that, so we're just going to take the total income, subtract from it the $33,950, 78,150 minus 33,950, multiply that by 0.25, and taxable is $11,050. So we'll add all three of those up together. $3,840 and add to it $835, and so we have a total of $15,725. So that's our taxable income. So we go look on our problem, and C is the answer. So that's how much tax he owes, federal income tax for 2009. All right, let's go on to question 6. So if you were filing taxes for a single person you knew that qualified for standard deduction in $5,700 and were in the 25% tax bracket, how much would the standard deduction save you in taxes? Okay, so we're looking for how much the standard deduction saves us. The first step is to say, okay, well, we have $5,700. That's how much a standard deduction is. So $5,700 is the standard deduction. We know we're in the 25% tax bracket, which means we will work all the way up to that bracket. So we want to calculate how much we save. So we just calculate at the top bracket, 25%. That is going to tell us how much money is basically we would save in taxes based upon that. So 5,700 multiplied by 0.25. So 1425 is the correct answer in there. Okay, we would save in taxes $1,425. Because we're deducting that before we do the calculation. So that comes off of it. So that's why you would look at it that way. So think about this question a little bit differently. That's $5,700 to subtract from our gross income, which means when we do calculate our gross income, we're calculating the 25%, it's going to generate that much money. Okay? Number 7. Ben and Jennifer are currently in the 15% income tax bracket. based upon taxable income, and are planning on itemizing their charitable donations, which about are $12,670 for the income year. What is the true cost of a charitable donation that they have made during the tax year? All right. So what happens is that because they're going to give $12,670 to charity, they get to deduct that. Now remember, that comes off of the taxes, okay? So what we need to do is calculate how much would be saved. So remember, they're in the 15% tax bracket, so we're going to calculate that at the 15%. So 12,670 times 15% is 12,670 times 15%, okay, $1,900.50. Now the next step is to say, well, that's how much we saved, okay? So what's the true cost of what we paid? Well, now to get that, you're going to take how much you paid and subtract how much you saved, okay? So we get $1,900 back in taxes. So technically we paid, or they paid $12,670 to the charity, but they're going to get $1,900 back in taxes. And so the true cost of them is $10,769. So that's really what's coming out of their pocket, because technically they're getting the money back from taxes, which they would have had to pay had they not done the charitable donation. Now also remember, you know, standard deductions. That's also something to consider in this case. Something that I might look into is to say, okay, well, look, you know, their standard deduction is $11,000. So in reality, they're not really saving that much because they would have got the standard deduction anyways. But that's a side story, because they could have also had home mortgage interest, which they calculate as well. So there's a lot of other factors to it that we're not covering at this point. So question 8 says, for the study described below, identify the population. 1,500 American women working for large companies were polled to determine the percentage that felt that women were underrepresented in management positions in their company. We're looking for the whole population, okay? So the whole population includes all women working for large companies. So that actually is the correct one, because that's who's they're polling, okay? So that's the correct answer. All American women, well, that's not quite true, because they're not polling people away from the company. The 1,500 women polled, that's the sample. The percentage of women working for large companies who feel that they're underrepresented. Now, those are the actual parameters, and that's the next question. So, what is the population parameter? And actually, D happens to be population parameter on the first one. So let's read through these. The percentage of American women who feel that they are underrepresented in management positions in a large company. Okay. All American women working for large companies, the percentage of women for the sample, okay, and the percentage of American working women for large companies. And see, there's the keys. The women that work for the large company, not just women in general, but the ones working for the large companies. So D is actually the correct parameter on that one. And question 10 states, for the study below, identify the sample. Now the sample is pretty easy. It's just how many people we polled. In this case, the 1,500 women polled. And so you could read the other questions, but that's the quick sample. All right, I'll see you in part 2.